in progress.
So just a minute. Hope I'm audible.
Hmm.
Huh?
Hmm.
Okay, thank you. So yesterday we saw about it was a wonderful read yesterday. So we saw about perception and learning and how are we perceiving certain things and how the author is trying to tell about how we are influenced by forces around us and whatever information we have is actually generated by the forces around us and author gave an example of how a rock even gives us an information because we see the rock and so that goes and goes inside and sits in our memory and the author says these things as something which is like a force which is present inside our own brain. He calls it as a structured energy and the author also says that because of this particular thing what we have absorbed right now in our brain, those information is now it is also acting as a force. So because of that particular information which we have, that is blocking us from getting new information. So in this line the author beautifully would have said everyone says people see what they want to see, but the author uh, portrayed it in a different manner. People see what they have learned to see, and everything else is invisible. So until you counteract that particular, learning which you have by putting that energy, uh, because that particular learning which is there in your mind that is blocking you from getting discovering new things. And the author also kind of said a story about how a boy first interaction with a dog, if he gets bitten by the dog, he will always be averse. He will develop aversion towards all the other dogs, although not all dogs are bad, right? So I think we kind of ended there. Fine. So today we'll see about perception and risk. So far the author has given us on information on how everything is in our mind, how we perceive things. Now he's associating perception and risk. As you can see, one person's perception of risk can easily be perceived as irrational thinking by another. Risk is relative, but to the person who perceives it in the moment, it seems absolute and beyond question. When the child encountered his first dog, he was bubbling with excitement and curiosity. What is it about the way our minds think and process information that could automatically flip the boy into a state of fear the next time he encounters a dog? Even if it is months or years later. If we look at fear as a natural mechanism warning us of threatening conditions, then what is it about the way our minds function that would automatically tell the boy that the next encounter with the dog is something to be afraid of? What happened to the boy's natural sense of curiosity? There is surely more to learn about the nature of dogs than this one experience has taught him, especially in light of the fact that our minds seem to have an unlimited capacity for learning. And why would it be virtually impossible to talk the boy out of his fear? So the author says about, the risk is actually relative. Uh, so once the boy has encountered the dog in a, not so good manner, he goes into a state of fear, right? And even after months or years also, he will still be scared. And now what happened to his curiosity? Because naturally, he's actually curious to learn more. But because of this particular bad incident, he is no longer curious, right? So what is happening here, right? So that is what the author is telling here. The power of association. As much as complex as these questions may seem at first glance, most of them can be answered quite easily. I'm sure many of you already know the answer. Our minds have an inherent design characteristic that causes us to associate and link anything that exists in the external environment that is similar in quality, characteristics, properties, or traits to anything that already exists in our mental environment as a memory or distinction. In other words, in the example of the child being afraid of dogs, the second dog or any other dog he encounters thereafter does not have to be the dog that attacked in order for him to experience emotional pain. There just has to be enough of a likeness or similarity for his mind to make a connection between the two. This natural tendency for our minds to associate is an unconscious mental function that occurs automatically. It's not something we have to think about or make a decision about. An unconscious mental function would be analogous to an involuntary physical function such as a heartbeat. Excuse me. Just as we don't have to consciously think about the process of making our hearts beat, we don't have to think about linking experiences and our feelings about them. It is simply a natural function of the way our minds process information, and like a heartbeat, it is a function that has a profound effect on the way we experience our lives. I'd like you to try and visualize the two-way flow of energy that reverses the cause and effect relationship that will make it difficult, if not impossible, for the boy to perceive any other possibilities than the one that is in his mind. To help you, I'm going to break this process down into its smaller parts and go through what happens step by step. All of this may seem a bit abstract, but understanding this process plays a big part in unlocking your potential to achieve consistent success as a big trader. So the author so far is telling that it's not very difficult to explain why he has lost its curiosity, because we associate things. We associate our it's not even natural. It comes very naturally. It is not even conscious. It's an unconscious thing. And just like our heartbeat, we don't have to, consciously associate. We basically link experiences and our feelings. That is what we do. It is very natural. It is not even conscious. So there is a cause and effect. So basically what is happening? The dog bit him and now he is now developed that is the cause. The aversion is what he has developed as an effect. So fine. So now he's going to break down how it is happening. It might seem very abstract, but the author is trying to break down. First, let us get right down to the basics. There is a structured energy on the outside of the boy and a structured energy on the inside of the boy. The outside energy is positively charged in the form of a friendly dog that wants to express itself by playing. The inside energy is a negatively charged memory in the form of mental images and sounds that represent the boy's first experience with a dog. Both the inside and the outside energy have the potential to make themselves felt on the boy's senses and, as a result, create two different kinds of situations for him to experience. The outside energy has the potential to act as a force on the boy in a way that he could find very enjoyable. This particular dog expresses behavior characteristics like playfulness, friendliness, and even love. But keep in mind that these are characteristics that the child still has not experienced in a dog. So, from his perspective, they do not exist. Just as in the price chart example I presented earlier, the child won't be able to perceive what he has not yet learned about unless he is in a state of mind that is conducive to learning. The inside energy also has potential and is just waiting, so as to speak, to express itself, but it will act on the boy's eyes and ears in a way that causes him to feel threatened. This, in turn, will create an experience of emotional pain, fear, and possibly even terror. Okay. From the way I've set this up, it may seem as if the boy has a choice between experiencing fun or experiencing fear, but that's really not the case, at least not in the moment. Of the two possibilities that exist in this situation, he'll undoubtedly experience the pain and fear instead of fun. This is true for several reasons. So far, next the author is now trying to, you know, what is it called? Decipher the steps of how we are linking our experiences and feelings. Author says that there is a positive energy outside, like there is a new dog which is coming, which is very friendly, right? And so that is a new energy, that is a new force which is coming. But there is a negative energy which is present inside as memory, right? Because of his experience with the previous bad dog. So now that inside energy the author calls this as negatively charged memory. And now when these two are meeting, they both will kind of uh, you know both have the potential. So whichever is powerful, it will win. And if the dog, which is the new dog which is coming, which is very friendly, very lovely, very jovial, playful, obviously the boy will experience all these things, right? But so far he has not experienced, and there is this negative energy. What he experienced so far is actually a bad experience, and that is there inside his mind. And what will that energy do? That memory which he has about the previous experience, that will actually make him feel threatened, right? Now the author is trying that this story, whatever he has said, it is written in such a way that the boy has both the options. But in practical, what will happen? He will be very threatened. That is what will happen, right? So he will experience pain and fear instead of fun. And why it is so? Firstly, as I have indicated, our minds are wired to automatically and instantaneously associate and link information that has similar characteristics, properties, and traits. What is outside of the child in the form of a dog looks and sounds similar to the one that is in his mind. However, the degree of similarity that is necessary for his mind to link the two is an unknown variable, meaning I do not know the mental mechanism that determines how much or how little similarity is required for our minds to associate and link two or more sets of information. Since everyone's mind functions in a similar way, but at the same time is unique, I would assume there is a range of tolerance for similarity or dissimilarity, and each of us has a unique capacity somewhere within the range. Here's what we do know. As this next dog comes into contact with the boy's eyes or ears, if there is enough similarity between the way it looks or sounds and the dog that is embedded in his memory, then his mind will automatically connect the two. This connection, in turn, will cause the negatively charged energy in his memory to be released throughout his body, causing him to be overcome with a very uncomfortable sense of foreboding or terror. The degree of discomfort or emotional pain that he experiences will be equivalent to the degree of trauma that he suffered as a result of his first encounter with the dog. What happens next is what psychologists call a projection. I'm going to refer to it simply as another instantaneous association that makes the reality of the situation from the boy's perspective seem like the absolute unquestionable truth. The boy's body is now filled with negatively charged energy. At the same time, he is in sensory contact with the dog. Next, his mind associates whatever sensory information his eyes or ears perceive with the painful energy he is experiencing inside himself, which makes it seem as if the source of his pain and fear is the dog he's seeing or hearing in that moment. So, nice. So far, uh, the author, says how we are automatically we are connected with whatever we have in our mind and with our emotion and feeling, right? So when the dog is coming, the boy is having a negatively charged energy inside, and what happens is he is immediately experiencing pain or discomfort. But what is happening is Actually, the dog is a good dog, but psychologists call this phenomenon as projection. Basically, you project whatever you are feeling inside outside. So now this dog is coming, but the boy is filled with negatively energy, and so he is immediately getting a pain. And now what is he thinking? Now the dog is only the reason for his pain, right? So this is what is happening. So psychologists call the dynamics of what I just described as projection, because in a sense the boy is projecting the pain he is experiencing in the moment onto the dog. Okay, so he's projecting the pain he's experiencing into the moment onto the dog. That painful energy then gets reflected back to him so that he perceives a dog that is threatening, painful, and dangerous. This process makes the second dog identical in character, properties, and traits to the one that is in the boy's memory bank, even though the information the second dog is generating about its behavior is not identical or even similar to the behavior of the dog that actually attacked the boy. So the author is telling that the boy is projecting his pain, that is like a force, and it is going to the dog and it is getting reflected back. So now what is happening is, now this is like, as a result, what is happening now, he's thinking this dog is also like the first dog, because he's getting experiencing pain, although this dog might not be the same as the first dog. Since the two dogs, the one in the boy's mind and the one outside of the boy's mind, feel exactly the same, it is extremely unlikely the boy will be able to make any type of distinctions in the second dog's behavior that would suggest to him that it is any different than the one in his mind. So instead of perceiving this next encounter with a dog as an opportunity to experience something new about the nature of dogs, he perceives a threatening and dangerous dog. Now, if you think about it for a moment, what is it about this process that would indicate to the boy that his experience of the situation was not the absolute, unquestionable truth? Certainly, the pain and fear that he experienced in his body was the absolute truth. Okay. So now the author is telling that, the boy is projecting the pain which he has encountered from the first dog towards the second dog. So he will not be able to, make any type of distinctions. Okay. He keeps thinking that this dog is going to attack him. Although the dog is very lovely, it is very friendly, and he could have experienced a new thing, but he is perceiving it as a dangerous thing. Now, if you think about this for a moment, what is the true thing? What is happening? So only thing which has happened is the pain and fear that is experienced in his body. That is the only true thing, because he didn't experience the joy from the second dog. But what about the possibilities that he perceived? Were they true? From our perspective, they were not. However, from the boy's perspective, how could they be anything but the true reality of the situation? What alternatives did he have? First, he cannot perceive possibilities that he has not learned about yet. And it is extremely difficult to learn anything new if you are afraid, because as you already well know, fear is a very debilitating form of energy. It causes us to withdraw, to get ready to protect ourselves, to run, and to narrow our focus of attention, all of which makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to open ourselves in a way that allows us to learn something new. Okay, so one thing is, why what is the truth here? The truth is he experienced pain, so that is the truth, right? But what is not true? What are the things which he could have happened? What are the things which about his perception? His perception was that the second dog is going to attack him, but that is not true, right? Because he didn't allow that experience, because from his perspective, he is not allowing. Now, why he's not allowing? Why he cannot perceive? Because he did not learn, right? So he did not learn, and his first learning was the first dog bit him, but the second dog he did not allow, because the learning he had from the first dog. And as a result, what is happening? The first learning which he had from the first dog was bad. So that is creating fear. Now, because of that fear, he is not allowing new learning to come inside. And all he's doing is running away from that dog, right? So it is a fear is a very debilitating form of energy, right? So it is extremely difficult to learn anything new if you are afraid. Okay. So that is what he's telling in this, author is telling in this paragraph. Second, as I have already indicated, as far as the boy is concerned, the dog is the source of his pain. And in a sense, this is true. The second dog did cause him to tap into the pain that was already in his mind, but it was not the true source of pain. This was a positively charged dog that got connected to the boy's negatively charged energy by an automatic involuntary mental process functioning at speeds faster than it takes to blink an eye, a process that the boy has absolutely no awareness of. So, as far as he is concerned, why would he be afraid if what he perceived about the dog was not the absolute truth? As you can see, it would not make any difference how the dog was acting or what someone might say to the contrary about why the boy shouldn't be afraid. Because he will perceive whatever information the dog is generating about itself from a negative perspective. He will not have the slightest notion that his experience of pain, fear, and terror was completely self-generated. Okay. So, like this is again, the author is trying to tell from the point of learning and memory and the force which is present inside him. All this happened in a fraction of a second. It is not even you know it happens in a fraction of a second faster than the time it takes for you to blink an eye. The minute the boy sees the dog, immediately there is a fear, right? So and the other one is he thinks that the dog is the source of his pain. Okay. So as far as the boy is concerned, he thinks that is the source of. So minute he sees the dog, immediately he will start getting scared. And so whatever information the dog generates, it will be from a negative perspective, right? He will perceive it. The dog might be loving, but he is actually perceiving it as negative, right? Now, it is possible for the boy to self-generate his own pain and terror at the same time, be firmly convinced that his negative experience was coming from the environment. Is it also possible for traders to self-generate their own experiences of fear and emotional pain as they interact with market information and be thoroughly convinced that their pain and fear was completely justified by the circumstances? The underlying psychological dynamics work in exactly the same way. Now, the author is connecting this particular example of this dog and the boy with us as traders. Just like how the boy is connecting because he had a bad experience with the first dog, he's telling the dog is responsible for his pain. So, the same way, just because our first trade went wrong, we immediately start blaming the market, telling that the market is responsible because we are projecting our pain towards on the market. We are projecting the bad memory which we got the first time with on the market. So both are same. One of your basic objectives as a trader is to perceive the opportunities available, not a threat of pain. To learn how to stay focused on the opportunities, you need to know and understand in no uncertain terms the source of the threat. It is not the market. The market generates information about its potential to move from a neutral perspective. At the same time, it provides you with an unending stream of opportunities to do something on your own behalf. If what you perceive at any given moment causes you to feel fear, ask yourself this question: is the information inherently threatening, or are you simply experiencing the effect of your own state of mind reflected back to you? So the author is telling, as a trader, we should look at the entire market and everything as opportunities, whether it's available or not, instead of thinking of each trade as a threat or threat of pain. Okay. So the market is generating only information, right? And it is providing you opportunities, right? A stream of opportunities. And whenever we see the market, whenever we see the information which we get from the market, and we are feeling scared to take a trade, we are feeling whether should I click that buy button or sell button, whatever. We should ask ourselves: is this the information threatening, or is it our experience which we had earlier, which is causing us to be scared? I know this is a difficult concept to accept, so I'll give you another example to illustrate the point. Let's set up a scenario where your last 2 or 3 traders were losers. You are watching the market, and the variables you use to indicate that an opportunity exists are now present. Instead of immediately executing the trade, you hesitate. The trade feels very risky, so risky, in fact, that you start questioning whether this is really a signal. As a result, you start gathering information to support why this trade probably won't work. This is information you normally would not consider or pay attention to, and it is certainly not information that is part of your trading methodology. In the meantime, the market is moving. Unfortunately, it is moving away from your original entry point, the point at which you would have gotten into the trade if you had not hesitated. Now you're conflicted because you still want to get in. The thought of missing a winning trade is painful. At the same time, as the market moves away from your entry point, the dollar value of the risk to participate increases. The tug of war inside your mind intensifies. You don't want to miss out, but you don't want to get whipsawed either. In the end, you do nothing because you are paralyzed by the conflict. You justify your state of immobility by telling yourself that it is just too risky to chase the market, while you agonize over every tick the market moves in the direction of what would have been a nice winning trade. If this scenario sounds familiar, I want you to ask yourself whether at the moment you hesitated, were you perceiving the market was making available or perceiving what was in your mind reflected back to you? Market gave you a signal, but you did not perceive the signal from an objective or positive perspective. You didn't see it as an opportunity to experience the positive feeling you would get from winning or making money. But that's exactly what the market was making available to you. Okay. So this is a very nice story, right? I mean, we all would have experienced. I mean, I personally experienced. I can't vouch for you, but he's telling a point where we are getting a signal, and we are hesitating, right? We are so because we are scared. So immediately, what happens? We immediately go and see all the things, all the other indicators. Is this good? Is that good? Is that good? And by the time we see all the other things, this would have moved. And now we are like, we want to see whether we really want to now trade because it has now the risk is more. If we had entered at the time when we got the signal, we hesitated, and now the risk is more. So, and you will not enter, but we will keep thinking we missed the trade, but it will keep moving in our direction. So when this happens, the author is asking whether where we, the perception which we had, whether it was the signal or it was our inherent internal, mind, which is telling us to be careful. The market gave us a signal, but we did not perceive the signal, and we didn't see it as an opportunity to experience the positive feeling from winning or making money. That's exactly what it was making available to us. Think about this for a moment. If I change the scenario to your last 2 or 3 trades were winners instead of losers, would you have perceived the signal any differently? Would you have perceived it more as an opportunity to win than you did in the first scenario? If you are coming off 3 winners in a row, would you have hesitated to put that trade on? Very unlikely. In fact, if you are like most traders, you probably would have been giving strong consideration to loading up, putting on a position more larger than your normal size. In each situation, The market generated the same signal, but your state of mind was negative and fear based in the first scenario, and that caused you to focus on the possibility of failure, which in turn caused you to hesitate. In the second scenario, you hardly perceived any risk at all. You may even have thought the market was making a dream come true. That in turn would make it easy, if not compelling, to financially overcome it yourself. If you can accept the fact that the market does not generate positively or negatively charged information as an inherent characteristic of the way it expresses itself, then the only other way information can take on a positive or negative charge is in your mind. And that is a function of the way the information is processed. In other words, the market doesn't cause you to focus on failure and pain or on winning and pleasure. What causes the information to take on a positive or negative quality is the same unconscious mental process that caused the boy to perceive the second dog as threatening and dangerous when all the dog was offering for playfulness and friendship. So now the author is shifting the scenario. Like if we had not, just like how the boy encountered a bad dog first and then he's now avoiding a good dog. Now he's telling that if you had few traits as winners, if you keep winning 2, 3, 4 traits, will we be hesitant to take a trade? No, because in fact sometimes what will happen, we will in fact commit more because we are like I'm more confident. And now if you can accept that fact and the market has no positive or negative information, all is there, all the positive and negative information is there in your mind. That is when we will, that is the thing which we have to be aware of. Okay, so the market is not causing you to succeed, pain or failure or pleasure, right? And whether it is basically our unconscious mental process which is causing this pain and pleasure. Okay, just like how the dog was actually playful, but the boy was actually avoiding because he perceived the second dog as threatening or dangerous. Our minds constantly associate what is outside of us with something that is already in our mind, making it seem as if the outside circumstances and the memory distinction or belief these circumstances are associated with are exactly the same. As a result, in the first scenario, if you were coming off 2 or 3 losing trades, this next signal the market gives you that an opportunity was present will feel overly risky. Your mind is automatically and unconsciously linking the now moment with your most recent trading experiences. The link taps you into the pain of losing, creating a fearful state of mind and causing you to perceive the information you are exposed to in that moment from a negative perspective. It seems as if the market is expressing threatening information, so of course your hesitation is justified. In the second scenario, the same process causes you to perceive the information from an overly positive perspective because you are coming off 3 winners in a row. The association between the now moment and the elation of the last 3 trades creates an overly positive or euphoric state of mind, making it seem as if the market is offering you a riskless opportunity. Of course, this justifies overcommitting yourself. In chapter 1, I said that many of the mental patterns that cause traders to lose and make errors are so self-evident and deeply ingrained that it would never occur to us that the reason we are not consistently successful is because of the way we think. Understanding, becoming consciously aware of, and then learning how to circumvent the mind's natural propensity to associate is a big part of achieving that consistency. Developing and maintaining a state of mind that perceives the opportunity flow of the market without the threat or pain or the problems caused by overconfidence will require that you take conscious control of the association process. So the author has is basically concluded about the perception. So if you, just like how you got a bad dog, and then when even in the good dog comes, you are hesitant because of fear, because you have a negative energy inside. But if the boy had encountered a very good dog, he will think all dogs are Lovely. And just like that. So if we are trading, if we keep winning 2, 3 trades, immediately what will happen? We will keep thinking every opportunity from the market is actually a riskless opportunity. And as a result, what will happen? We will double our, you know, uh, position size. But what is exactly happening is we are becoming euphoric or a little bit overly positive. So in the previous chapter, he would have said about the boom and bust cycle. So, and this is because of the perception which we have about ourselves, about the encounters which we have with the market. And for that, we have to consciously control. So that's like, always walking in the razor's edge. Like, you should know that there is a risk. We should know that there is a reward. And you should not think that there is always a reward. You should not think that there is always a risk. So that is what the author is concluding in this chapter. Fine. So the next chapter, so far the author has said about the dynamics of perception. Okay. Now in this next chapter, the author is trying to tell about the market's perspective. For the most part, a typical trader's perception of the risk in any given trading situation is a function of the outcome of his most recent 2 or 3 trades, depending on the individual. The best traders, on the other hand, are not impacted either negatively or too positively by the outcomes of their last or even their last several trades. So, their perception of the risk of any given trading situation is not affected by this personal psychological variable. There is a huge psychological gap here that might lead you to believe that the best traders have inherent design qualities in their minds that account for this gap. But I can assure you this is not the case. So the author is telling that usually the last 2, 3 days are good. We immediately get elated and euphoric. Last 2, 2, 3 trades are bad. We immediately go down. So, but what the author is telling that the best traders they are not impacted with either if it is positive or negative. They don't care. Even if the last couple of several trades are negative, they don't care. So this is like so the perception of the risk of any trading situation, basically every time they take a trade, it is not getting affected. The perception they have is not getting affected by the personal psychological variable. So there is a huge psychological gap, and there is a gap between how we think and how the best traders think. Okay, so we think that the traders have inherent design qualities that is making them behave that manner, but the author is telling that is not the case. Every trader I've worked with over the last 18 years has had to learn how to train his mind to stay properly focused in the now moment opportunity flow. Okay. So you have to stay properly focused in the now moment opportunity flow. This is a universal problem and has to do both with the way our minds are wired and our common social upbringing. Meaning, this particular trading problem is not person specific. There are other factors relating to self-esteem that may also act as obstacles to your consistent success. But what we are going to discuss now is the most important and fundamental building block to your success as a trader. Okay. So the author is telling that the successful traders or the consistent traders, they have something called the now moment opportunity flow, and they are constantly focused. That is what he's telling. And he's also telling that this why some people fail is because of your how we have been brought up, and there is also something with respect to self-esteem. But more than that, he's going to tell something which is fundamentally that is the building block. Okay, the market's perspective. The uncertainty principle. If there is such a thing as a secret to the nature of trading, this is it. At the very core of one's ability to trade without fear or overconfidence, perceive what the market is offering from its perspective, stay completely focused in the now moment opportunity flow, and spontaneously enter in the zone It is a strong, virtually unshakable belief in an uncertain outcome with an edge in your favor. So if you have to trade without fear, or if you have to trade without overconfidence, and perceive what the market is offering, and you have to stay focused also, and you have to immediately enter into the zone, basically the flow. It is a strong, you will have what is called as a belief. Okay. Uh, you believe that there is no certainty, but it is there in your favor. That is what the author is telling. The best traders have evolved to the point where they believe without a shred of doubt or internal conflict that anything can happen. They don't just suspect that anything can happen or give lip service to the idea. Their belief in uncertainty is so powerful that it actually prevents their minds from associating the now moment situation and circumstance with the outcome of their most recent trades. By preventing this association, they are able to keep their minds free of unrealistic and rigid expectations about how the market will express itself, instead of generating the kind of unrealistic expectations that more often than not result in the both emotional and financial pain. They have learned to make themselves available to take advantage of whatever opportunities the market may offer in any given moment. So best traders, what they do every time they trade, they know that anything can happen. Okay, and they are not able to. They don't associate, any of that particular uh, information with pain or pleasure, right? So what they do is they don't have unrealistic expectations or rigid expectations. They don't tell that this market will go down today, will go down now, or something like that. And what they think at, if there is an information, there is an opportunity available, they just make themselves available. Okay. So make themselves available to take advantage of whatever opportunities the market may offer in that particular moment. Making yourself available is a perspective from which you understand that the framework from which you are perceiving information is limited relative to what is being offered. Our minds don't automatically perceive every opportunity that presents itself in any given moment. The boy and the dog illustration from the chapter 5 is a perfect example of how our personal versions of the truth are reflected back to us. Okay. So author is telling about making yourself available. Okay. So here he's actually, what he's doing is he's connecting this with the previous chapter. Okay. So what is meant by making yourself available? You have, just like how the dog was not making himself available for the second dog, right? Because he had a bad experience from the first dog, he's not making himself available the second dog. And so that is what. So just because you had a bad experience in the first trade, you don't make yourself available. You are not open to the second trade, right? And so that is what the author is trying to tell here. The same kind of perceptual blindness. So we are actually blinded by perception. Okay, it happens all the time in trading. We cannot perceive the potential for the market to continue to move in a direction that is already against our position. Okay, if, for example, we are operating out of fear of being wrong. Okay, okay, we cannot perceive the potential for the market to continue to move in a direction that is already against our position if, for example, we are operating out of fear of being wrong. So internally, we are actually, perceiving the market is going to punish us. So what will happen is we cannot think that the market will go in a positive direction. The fear of admitting we are wrong causes us to place an inordinate amount of significance on information that tells us that we are right. Okay. This happens even if there is ample information to indicate that the market has in fact established a trend in the opposite direction of our position. A trending market is a distinction about the market's behavior. We can ordinarily perceive, but this distinction can easily become invisible if we are operating out of fear. The trend and the opportunity to trade in the direction of that trend do not become visible until we are out of the trade. Okay. So we think that we are right and we put a trade, but what is happening? The information market is telling the trend has reversed, but we think that it's a retracement, and we don't exit, and because we think that whatever we have taken is right. Okay, we don't exit it quickly, and that is what is happening. Because of that, we will know only after we exit the trade, right? Uh, so that is what the author is telling. Okay, because of our by blindness, because we think whatever we have done, whatever we have taken is right, because we don't want to admit that we were wrong. In addition, there are opportunities that are invisible to us because we have not learned to make the distinctions that would allow us to perceive them. Okay, recall our discussion in chapter 5 of the first price chart you ever looked at. What we have not learned yet is invisible to us and remains invisible until our minds are open to an exchange of energy. Okay, a perspective from which you make yourself available takes into consideration both the known and the unknown. For example, you have built a mental framework that allows you to recognize a set of variables in the market's behavior that indicates when an opportunity to buy or sell is present. This is your edge and something you know. However, what you don't know is exactly how the pattern your variables identify will unfold. Okay. So the same thing, just like how we want to be right, we will not even exit, even though the trend has changed against our position. And similarly, because there are certain opportunities available and we don't take it because we have not learned those opportunities because we are blind, right? Because there is some information inside our brain which is preventing us from seeing those opportunities. Okay. And this perspective from which you make that is why you are not available to take the opportunities. Okay, so now what is happening is, assume you have studied, you have studied a lot of some strategies or tactics, right, which will tell that there is a buy or sell signal. That is the edge which we have. But what will happen if our perspective is not correct? We don't know how we will behave in the real market. Okay, so with the perspective of making yourself available, you know that your edge places the odds of success in your favor. But at the same time, you completely accept the fact that you don't know the outcome of any particular trade. By making yourself available, you consciously open yourself up to find out what will happen next, instead of giving way to an automatic mental process that causes you to think you already know. Adopting this perspective leaves your mind free of internal resistance that can prevent you from perceiving whatever opportunity the market is making available from its perspective. Your mind is open for an exchange of energy. Not only can you learn something about the market that you previously did not know, but you also set up the mental condition most conducive to entering the zone. So even though you are expert and you have studied everything and all these things, unless you accept the fact that anything can happen in a trade, and you jump into it, you won't be able to exchange the information. So you have some information which is blocking, the market is giving some information. So for that new information to come inside, you need to be open. Okay. Now, if you go in that particular mindset, not only you will learn new things, you will also enter into the zone. That is what author is telling. The essence of what it means to be in the zone is that your mind and the market are in sync. As a result, you sense what the market is about to do as if there is no separation between yourself and the collective consciousness of everyone else participating in the market. Okay. The zone is a mental space where you are doing more than just reading the collective mind. You are also in complete harmony with it. So this is what author is telling as zone. Okay. So once you're open, once you take every trade as if losses are part of the trading, and once you know uh, you know open yourself up, then there is an exchange of information happens. Like if you win, yes, you learned something. Whatever you took was correct. If you lose, then also it's a new information which you have to take yourself. You have to learn with from that information so that you know you apply it in the next trade. So once this is what is happening, there is a collective information. Everybody is trading, everybody is there. Now what is happening, you are not only participating, you are actually in harmony with that particular participation. Okay, you don't fight the market. Everybody is telling it should go down. You participate in that and you accept that and you bow uh, to that opinion, right? So, and if you think that, oh, it should not go down, it should go up, you obviously encounter a loss. But what is happening? But you accept that. So you are completely in harmony with it, right? If this sounds a bit strange to you, ask yourself how it is that a flock of birds or a school of fish can change direction simultaneously. There must be a way in which they are linked to one another. If it is possible for people to become linked in the same way, then there will be times when information from those with whom we are linked can and will bleed through our consciousness. Traders who have experienced being tapped into the collective consciousness of the market can anticipate a change in direction just as a bird in the middle of a flock or a fish in the middle of the school will turn at the precise moment that all others turn. Okay. So just like how birds are, they can turn quickly when they or a fish is going in a group of fishes keep moving in a pattern, we can also do, and we can also tap into the information available from what others are doing, by looking at the market, and we can go in that particular flow. So some people have seen they trade like they will trade when the market when uh, they will take a CE trade as well as a PE trade also. So they'll make profit in the CE trade. They will also make profit in the PE trade. So I've seen such things happening. So that I think that is what this author is telling. That is what you call it as trading in the zone. However, setting up the kind of mental conditions most conducive to experiencing this seemingly magical synchronicity between you and the market is no easy task. There are two mental hurdles to overcome. The first is the focus of this chapter, learning how to keep your mind focused in the now moment opportunity flow. Okay. In order to experience synchronicity, your mind has to open to the market's truth from its perspective. The second hurdle has to do with the division of labor between the two halves of our brain. The left side of our brain specializes in rational thought based on what we already know. The right side specializes in creative thought. It is capable of tapping into an inspiration, an intuition, a hunch, or a sense of knowing that usually cannot be explained at a rational level. It cannot be explained because if the information is really creative in nature, then it is something that we would not know at a rational level. By definition, true creativity brings forth something that did not previously exist. There is an inherent conflict between these two modes of thought, that the rational and logical part will almost always win unless we take specific steps to train our minds to accept and trust creative information. Without that training, we will usually find it very difficult to act on our hunches, intuitive impulses, inspirations, or sense of knowing. So the first thing which you need to train is to keep your brain completely, mind completely focused in the now moment opportunity flow. But the second problem is how you basically, there is a creative side of the brain and there is a rational side of the brain. The creative side of the brain is actually intuitive, and obviously uh, the rational side of a brain is irrational, right? So there is always a conflict, like, your creative brain tells, try it out. And rational brain keeps telling, no, 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 you will fail. You will not try, you'll burn your hands. Uh, Careful. So this kind of conflict. So you have to tap into you have to take steps to train to accept and trust the creative information sometimes. So the creative information is what is needed for your curiosity. Okay. So without that training, what will happen is we will find it very difficult to take actions based on our hunches, intuitive impulses, inspirations, or sense of knowing. Acting appropriately on anything requires belief and clarity of intent, which keeps our minds and senses focused on the purpose at hand. Okay. If the source of our actions is creative in nature and our rational mind has not been properly trained to trust this source, then at some point in the process of acting on this information, our rational brain will flood our consciousness with conflicting and competing thoughts. Of course, all of these thoughts will be sound and reasonable nature because they will be coming from what we already know at a rational level, but they will have the effect of flipping us out of the zone or any other creative state of mind. There are few things in life more frustrating than recognizing the possibilities evident from a hunch, intuition, or an inspired idea and not taking advantage of that potential because we talk ourselves out of it. Okay. So here the author is telling that obviously, if you have to trust your creative brain, uh, our rational brain is not trained to handle the creative brain's ideas. Okay, the rational brain will immediately tell, no, 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 you're wrong. See, this is what happened. See, that is what happened. See, this is why you should do. This is what all these things are conflicting. No, as a result, what will happen is because of this kind of conflict, you will flip out of the zone. Okay, and so that is what the author is telling. Okay, so and as a result, what will happen? You will what could have been an opportunity, you will talk yourself out of the particular opportunity. Okay, I realize that what I have just said is still much too abstract to implement on a practical basis. So I'm going to take you step by step, focused in the now moment opportunity flow. My objective is by the time you have read this chapter and chapter 7, you will understand without a shred of doubt why your ultimate success as a trader cannot be realized until you develop a resolute, unshakable belief in uncertainty. Okay. So here the author is telling about the conflict between your rational mind and the creative mind. And your rational mind is not trained to handle the ideas of your creative brain, and what will happen is it will keep fighting, right? It will keep telling that it will keep dismissing the creative brain's hunches and impulses and inspirations. It will try to tame it. As a result, what will happen, there is a conflict which is happening between your creative mind and the rational brain, and obviously you will flip out of the zone, right? And now the author is telling that I know this is sounding very abstract, and I will take you, by the time you complete reading this chapter and the next chapter, you will completely understand what is the now moment opportunity flow. And not only that, you will also be at peace with uncertainty. Okay. Okay, we'll complete till this. Fine. The first step on the road towards getting your mind and the market in sync is to understand and completely accept the psychological realities of trading. This step is where most of the frustrations, disappointments, and mysteriousness associated with the trading begin. Okay. Uh, yeah. Very few people who decide to trade ever take the time or expend the effort to think about what it means to be a trader. Most people who go into trading think that being a trader is synonymous with being a good market analyst. As I have mentioned, this could not be further from the truth. Good market analysis can certainly contribute to and play a supporting role in one's success, but it does not deserve the attention and importance most traders mistakenly attach to it. Beneath the market behavior patterns that are so easy to become fixated on are some very unique psychological characteristics. It is the nature of these psychological characteristics that determine how one needs to be in order to operate effectively in the market environment. Okay, so for this, the author is telling that you have to first understand the psychology of what is it called, realities of trading. Okay, so and this is where we get disappointed because we immediately us think that you have to analyze, and what is to understand the market means to understand, to do proper analysis of the market, but this is actually completely uh, false. And obviously the author is not discounting that. He's telling it has a role, uh, but it is but there are more than that. It is more of the psychology which needs some more attention. Okay, and because of you might be an excellent market analyst, unless you have the right psychology, you will not be available to take that trade. That is what authors tell. Okay, will not be determines how one needs to be, right, in order to operate effectively. So you will not be available. Just like how the second dog was a great dog, it was a lovely dog, it was a friendly dog, but the boy was not acceptable, not accepting, because he was not available. Why? Because the information just present inside his brain is blocking that new information to come inside. Okay. Operating effectively in an environment that has qualities, traits, or characteristics that are different from what we are used to requires making some adjustments or changes in the way we normally think about things. For example, if you were to travel to an exotic place with certain objectives or goals to accomplish, the first thing you would do is familiarize yourself with the local traditions and customs. By doing so, you would learn about the various ways in which you would have to adapt in order to function successfully in that environment. Traders frequently ignore the fact that they may have to adapt in order to become consistently successful traders. Okay. There are two reasons for this. The first is that you need absolutely no skill of any kind to put on a winning trade. For most traders, it usually takes years of pain and suffering before they figure out or finally admit to themselves that there is more to being consistent than the ability to win and pick an occasional winner. The second reason is that you don't have to travel anywhere to trade. All you need is access to a phone. You don't even have to roll out of bed in the morning. Even traders who normally trade from an office don't have to be in the office to put on or take off their trades, because you can access and interact with the market from personal environments that we are intimately familiar with. It seems as if trading won't require any special adaptations in the way we think. To some degree, you are probably already aware of many of the fundamental truths, psychological characteristics about the nature of trading. But having an awareness or an understanding of some principle, insight, or concept does not necessarily equate to acceptance and belief. When something has been truly accepted, it is not in conflict with any other component of our mental environment. When we believe in something, we operate out of that belief as a natural function of who we are, without struggle or extra effort. To whatever degree there is conflict with any other component of our mental environment, the same degree there is a lack of acceptance. Okay, it's kind of huge, but it is actually what the author is telling, the same thing which he has been telling previous, right? And the one new example which the author is bringing here is, if you are going to a new place or a new location or a new city, a new country, you will actually go and scout. You will actually read about it. You will actually tell, understand that environment, what you should do and what you should not do, right? But we ignore these things. We don't try to learn how to behave in that environment and why, right? There are two reasons. Because the first reason is, you don't need any skill to put on a winning trade, right? The first is that you don't need any skill to put on a winning trade. But imagine if you are going to a new city, You need to learn how to talk. It might be you might go to Japan, or you might go to China, or you might go to Korea or somewhere. If you don't know that particular language, it will be difficult, right? So there is some amount of uh, you know effort which you know that you have to put. Okay, and but when we come inside, we it's just a button click. You just buy, sell, and so we think, so we don't train, we don't learn, we don't try to understand the market, we don't read about the market, we don't try to examine the environment of the market. But after a lot of pain and suffering, then only we'll tell that it is not as easy to be consistent. It is randomly you can win, but every time we are going to lose. This next one is why we don't try to learn about the environment is that unlike you going to a new place or city, you have to book a ticket, you have to get a visa, you have to get all the tickets, you have to contact the broker, you have to contact the agent and all these things. It's a lot of work, and you have to go to the visa office, something like that. In trading, there is no such things. It's so easy that you go and register for an account, you immediately get access in your phone. Nowadays, with the Aadhaar and all, everything is so seamless. And within, if you start today morning, the end of the day, you get the trading account. Not only that, it is super accessible, right? Can simply get out of the bed and click the buy button, or you can go to the office, talk with your boss, or do a meeting. But you can keep trading, in a multitasking manner, right? So to some degree, you are probably aware of many of the fundamental truths, and you know that these are all wrong. Just like how we said, you are aware, but do you believe in these things? So just because now in the previous trade where the author said that he had a friend who got scared of snake, and although he's aware that not all snakes are poisonous, he still jumps away from a snake, even though that snake is not poisonous. He's not. Uh, he gets scared, right? So he's aware that not the snake is not poisonous, but he is not believing himself, right? So that is what the author is telling in this particular paragraph. So it is not difficult, therefore, to understand why so few people make it as traders. They simply don't do the mental work necessary to reconcile the many conflicts that exist between what they have already learned and believe, and how that learning contradicts and acts as a source of resistance to implementing the various principles of successful trading. Getting into and taking advantage of the kind of free-flowing states of mind that are ideal for trading requires those conflicts to be resolved. Okay. And yeah. So just like how we might be aware, but we are not believing. We might be learning a lot of things. We might be learning all the things about market, any new trading system, new indicator, new uh, strategy, new books about trading. But unless we believe in all those things, and unless we are in that free flowing state of mind, we will not be able to successfully enter the zone. And we have to resolve that. We have to address that. What is happening? Why we are not trading? Why we didn't do? And how we are going to do it. So those things the author is going to tell in the next forthcoming chapters. But we will end this session for today with this, because we're already a daily 1 hour is the time limit which we are allocating. We are already more than that. Yeah. So today we saw about the market's perspective and the uncertainty principle. Basically, he's telling about whether you are available, and you will be available only if you completely understand that everything is going to be uncertain, and that is when you will be in the zone, and there is always a conflict which is happening because of our beliefs And the author also says that why you are not training, because and he also says that there is a conflict between your left brain and right brain. One is the creative, one is the irrational. You have to tame your creative brain. And he also goes into why, if you have to operate efficiently in an environment, you have to learn about that environment, and why we don't do it, because it's so easy to get. Uh, you don't have to learn anything; you just have to click buy and sell. Other one is it is easily available. It's not difficult to make a trade. So these are all the things, and for this you have to confront your own psyche, and which is so that it's not contradicting. You might have learned, but you won't be available, just like how you might be aware, but you will not believe. So that is something which we have to address. So with this, we'll end this session. If you guys have anything to tell, please let me know. If not, we'll end for this day. Okay, fine. So thank you. Thanks a lot for participating in this session. Much appreciated. We'll continue this session tomorrow. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.